a reference to from my note, from that verse 10, verses 11. Let me just read from 3 to 9, which I framed this way. God will not protect the city or the people because of their wickedness. Can I encourage us? Sometimes, if we want God's protection, let us get ourselves out of wickedness. Amen? And do good. He said, though people in the past had brought shame to the city, but the Lord will forgive their sins. Many people from other nations will hear about the good things that the Lord was doing for the city, and they will wonder. That's what I put together as verse 3 and 9. From that verse 10 to 11 and 14 to 16, the Lord will carry out his promise. One day he will rebuild the nation. The Lord repeats the promise about a king who will come from David's royal family. Jeremiah 23, 5 to 7, you can have that down. And Psalm 96, verse 10 to 13. And Jesus is this king that he's talking about here. He said he will be an ideal king who will rule fairly. He will do what was right. The Lord will rescue Judah. Jerusalem will not be the city for which nobody cared. Then you can see that in Jeremiah 30, although we are not there yet, but 30, 17, write it against that verses 9 to 14. He said, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will fulfill the good promise I made for the people of Israel and Judah. In those days and at that time, I will make a righteous branch sprout from David's line. In those days, Judah will be saved, and Jerusalem will live in safety. This is the name by which it will be called, the Lord our righteousness. He's going to be a righteous judge. I preached to you from that book of Psalm 96, say among the nations, God is coming, that God reigns. And this is part of what he's talking about, that this the root that we are talking about here, the root sprout from David's line, is going to reign. And he's going to reign in righteousness. He's not going to come like that baby born in the manger. He's going to come to judge the nation. And that's the reason why I was, that urgency I was giving to us from that Psalm 96, that we must now go and speak to the people, reflect God, demonstrate love, demonstrate the fear of God, reflect Jesus everywhere, so that more people will come to the Lord like never before, because he's coming to reign. Then instead, Jerusalem will receive the same name as the ideal king. The city would have peace with the Lord. The city will be an example of the right way to live. When we follow this prophecy, then we'll be right people that lives in the right kingdom. Verse 17 of that 33, the prophecy said that always there will be a descendant from David. He will rule as king. That happened in Jesus Christ. He's called the root of the son of David. That you can see in Revelation 22:16. And it says, he will rule the kingdoms of the world for always. Revelation chapter 11, verse 15. Verse 18, he said, the priests belong to the family of Levi. Jeremiah had blamed some of the priests because of their false promises about peace, which we see in Jeremiah chapter 6:13. But always there will be a priest through whom the people could approach the Lord. You know, how many of us will start a business and don't want our children to inherit us? God has decreed and given the gospel. And he has sent Jesus Christ to be his son, to lead. So he still wants that everything must happen in Jesus. Amen? And that is what we are hearing here. Jesus Christ is that priest. His perfect sacrifice allows us to approach the Lord. Hebrews 7:24-25. He's a priest for always, forever. Hebrews 10:19-22. You can write it down and go and look at it and compare it with that verse 14 of Jeremiah 33, 14-16. He said, he is a priest for always, ever and ever. Hebrews 10:19-22. In the New Testament, some of the priests believed and trusted Christ. Acts 6, verse 7. But everyone who trusts Christ becomes a priest. Now that we are born again, we have become a priest. That we are royal priesthood, a holy nation, peculiar people. Why? Because we have been delivered from the kingdom of darkness to his wonderful kingdom of light. So if we remain in the light of God, we become the priest of the Lord. They give to the Lord a sacrifice of praise. 1 Peter chapter 2, 5-9. Verses 19 to 22, when the Lord created the world, he created things in order. Genesis 1:5. It was stupid to think that the Lord will stop that order. Always the Lord will do what he promised to Noah. While the earth remains, says day and night will not end. Genesis 8:22. So it was just as impossible for the Lord to end this covenant with David and with the priests. The Lord repeated the promise that he made to Abraham. He promised to give him so many descendants that nobody will be able to count them. We are among the descendants today. So the promise keep on going. God is a covenant God. There will be as many as the stars in the sky and the sand by the sea. Genesis 22:17. Verses 23 to 26. People were thinking that the Lord did not care about the kingdom of Israel and Judah. They were worthless. But the Lord promised to pity his people. But the Lord will not end his own laws. He had made laws for heaven and earth and for day and night. So it was impossible